have. So financial status is of course important, but here it will be slightly different in the sense that the first time creditors will be focused upon, and what they will also focus on, what is the consumer's behavior, where are they spending the money. So if they are getting the money, where they are spending. Generally what happens when you have less income, any additional income that you get, you spend it on consumption expenditure rather than investment expenditure. But if you are already a bit wealthy or upper middle class, you get an additional income, you might actually invest. So logically speaking, an already upper middle class or a wealthy person will have a better credit awareness, investment. That is not the case with the rural area. But here also they will specifically be monitored in order to understand what is the behavior of this rural creditor, and comparatively based among themselves, they will be given the credit rating. Okay? Or else generally what happens with respect to the credit rating, it is common for everyone. What's your credit score, my credit score? Here it will be Gramin credit rating, which will be comparing them among the Gramin people specifically, with a special focus on the new ones, the first time credit takers. Next is the FCRA Amendment 2026 and the regulation for foreign funding. Now politically also this is in news because the Kerala elections are coming up, so the Kerala government is reacting to this thing that is coming out. All those things are there. But whatever is important for us, we will look at that. One thing that can be of contention is that any investigating agency who wants to start an investigation, or even the state government who wants to start an investigation with respect to this, they have to take the approval of the government of India. Okay? Without whose approval, it may not go ahead. Similar case in the opposite way, you would see, if you know the CBI. You know, many times we see that certain cases are given to CBI. But in CBI what happens? Is the state's permission mandatory every time in all the states? No, that is not the case. So certain states can give the permission on their own, the state assembly can approve that, so every time CBI can implement it, not a problem. But certain states do not give it, so every time that they have to transfer a case, state government's permission is required. That is how the case is over here. Here the case is reverse, you have to take the permission of Government of India. Next is RBI's rejection of the treasury bill bids. So T-bills, which we have done in our static class, so there have been bids for the treasury bills by the banks and other institutions, but RBI has rejected that bid, rejected in order to ensure that the money stays with the bank and can be given out to others rather than being stayed in corner and in the form of treasury bills. So that is what the news is all about. The last one is the government launching 3 initiatives for the orange economy. What is orange economy? Yes, so they basically AV, GC, the video gaming or all those graphics etc. is related to the orange economy. With respect to that, they have launched it. Through this, they are wanting to convert the viewers into creators. So we view the content, they want also to create the content. So for that, they have certain challenges also that they have come up with. Not just that, they want to train around, I think 15,000. We'll see the number is mentioned in the slide. I think 15,000 creators they will train. Along with, their government is taking support of Google, right, which is a private company. So it's basically like a public-private partnership through which 15,000 people will be trained in that. At the same time, you will have the free dish TV that is there, right? It provides you DD channel and other channels are free. So all those things will be pre-installed in now the latest free dish TVs that the people are going to purchase. So we'll see that in detail. These are the 5 things that we will cover. So let's start with the very first one, that is the notification of electricity amendment rules. Okay. So it's important that it amends the Rule 3 of Electricity Rules 2005. This is certain fact for your prelims. The focus here is on captive generating plants. So what is this captive generating plants? That is the main concept here. See, with respect to electricity, the generation of electricity has not been much of an issue. If you look at the last decade and a half, electricity field has been something which is not performing good. But it's not the generation of electricity which is not good. It is basically the distribution of electricity which is a problem actually. And so who are the distributing industry? The DISCOMs. These are basically the distribution companies. Discoms are distribution companies. These are electricity distribution companies. They are simply referred to as discoms. Now these discoms are facing huge issues, have been facing huge issues. It's a decade and a half long issue that they are facing, and we are still trying to improve that issue. What issues that they are facing? Distribution charges are very high. That is one thing. Second, our renewable energy production is increasing. So integrating that renewable energy into this supply chain is also a concern. Then there are leakages. Then there are thefts. All these are the concerns because of which discoms were having huge losses. To address those huge losses, the government of India came up with a scheme named UDAY. UDAY is Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana. Under Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana, the government also promised to infuse certain liquidity to the tune of 70,000 crore rupees into the discom or the distribution company sector to revive the discoms. Right. Now, this is one issue we face with respect to the transfer of the power. So here their focus is on captive generation plant. Captive generation plant means these discoms transfer the electricity to our household, plus they also transfer the electricity to the corporations, the companies, right? Now you might have heard about the schemes wherein you will get some amount of subsidy if you create your own solar plant, you generate your own solar energy. Government gives you ₹1,00,000 of subsidy, rest is yours. You can utilize whatever you want. Additional thing, you can sell it also and earn money. That scheme is there at a household level. So this is a similar concept at a corporate level. So here captive generation plant means the corporate, instead of purchasing it from the discom, can actually create their own electricity in-house. Captive basically here means in-house. So in-house they can generate that electricity and use their own electricity. So what happens? Here is a corporate, next to it is a plant, they generate, they use, the transportation charges is gone, the transportation leakages are gone, everything is gone. It will lead to higher efficiency of power generation. It can have a negative impact on discom, however. Why? Because they are big suppliers to these big corporates, which supplies in bulk. Now those things might rescind because the corporates might end up doing it on your own. Big corporates can definitely do it on your own. So this is the entire modification which is all about, wherein the emphasis is given on captive generation of captive generating plants. So what are captive generating plants? As I told you, these are power plants set up by the industries or the entities for their own electricity. Either a single company can set it up on their own, or there can be a collaboration of multiple companies coming together, because see, you have industrialized area, you have industries, you have, let's say, Jamshedpur, wherein industries are there. Multiple industries come together, have their own plant and provide electricity to each other in that area. Okay? So for their own consumption, then it reduces reliance on the public power grid that is there. So there can be impact on discoms, but we anyhow have very high energy requirement in the future. That is anyhow going to increase. So it will definitely bring in more efficiency in the system. Okay. Clarifies captive generation provisions. So in this amendment, they have clarified who all can do that. So it's not just the corporates that can do. Where is that slide? It is also there. The ownership of the plant will be with the corporate who is doing it. Their individual subsidiaries can also have their own. Their holding companies can also have their own. Other subsidiaries of their holding companies can also have their own power generation plant. Right? So they have basically given clarity with respect to who all can establish the captive generating plant. So remember, it's the company's subsidiary, the company's holding, the holding company may have its subsidiary, all of them can have their own captive generation plant. This forms the basis of your prelims question. Can they all have it? Yes, all of these can have their own captive generation plant. Okay. Then this is basically the structure of let's say the regulating structure. So you have over here the NLDC, then it is the regional LDC, then you have the state level. So this is national level distribution company, under which it is regional level distribution company, under which this is state level. So remember, regional level is at a higher level than state, because certain things are done based on regions. You know, for example, if you look at water supply, you have watershed management scheme. Then when you have watershed management scheme, it will not necessarily be limited to a state. It takes care of a region. So if you have the Kaveri watershed management plan, Kaveri watershed management plan will encompass Karnataka as well as Tamil Nadu. Right. So similar is the concept when it comes to electricity. The regional one is at a higher pedestal as the state one, because the region may deal with multiple states possibly. Okay? So this is the hierarchy of it. So nodal agency, this is your nodal agency, that is NLDC, which will handle the interstate verification. Okay? And this will be the hierarchy of the organization that you have. Okay? Allocation, here there is no as such scheme or allocation of funds or anything like that. This is just an amendment that has been made. Yes. Coming on to the next. Okay. Grameen credit score for rural lending. So presently, whenever you are having the credit score, it is a very generic credit score. It does not take into account the disparity that would be there. Okay. So someone affluent white collar job maintaining a good amount of credit score, and someone who is in rural area still managing to, you know, sort of be almost at par, that person is doing a tremendous job to do it. So there is always a regional disparity. In rural areas, agriculture is the main source, higher uncertainty, so it is quite difficult to maintain the credit score, of course, right? So here there will be specific Grameen credit score which will be calculated. And this Grameen credit score, this is important. It is going to be the default assessment tool. Default assessment tool. Right. By default, the banks have to adopt the Grameen credit score as the assessment tool for the rural borrowers. So it is specifically, because it's Grameen. Grameen means rural. It is specifically for rurals. A rural area, the banks by default has to adopt this. In addition to that, they want some other requirement, that is a different thing, but by default this has to be the tool for them. Important thing here is that the focus is on the first time borrowers. Indian government, whenever they come up with schemes, etc., first time users, first time employees are very important for us. Why? Because we have not yet been able to spread the benefits completely horizontally. Okay? So in depth, generation by generation, same families might be taking the benefits, all that is happening, but width is not yet complete, right? As a result of which, first time. Where else you will hear first time? When the government talks about this apprenticeship yojana. The government talks about converting into formal sector. If you hire 5 new employees, right, who are first timers, those companies will be given credit. We have done that scheme in our current affairs, right? So first timers are given due importance here as well. This was announced in union budget. This is fair enough. Yes, this is an alternative credit scoring model for unbanked, underbanked individuals in the Grameen. So this is an alternative, right? As I said, for everyone it was general. So now this becomes specific for the Grameen people. What it will use? As I mentioned, social and behavioral data within the communities or microfinance groups. Within the communities or microfinance group, what is the behavior, consumer behavior, that is important. All that will be studied over here, and that is what will be utilized for checking the credit score. Of course, in addition to money, if you are earning in your account every month, consistently the money goes or not, or if you are doing business, what is the scenario with respect to the financial health, all that along with the social and the behavioral health. Okay? Unlike traditional credit scores, CIBIL does not rely on bank loans. It does not rely on bank loans or credit card history. Yes. See, one more thing it is important here is when you have microfinance, what all is the function of a microfinancing agency? The same thing that any bank also does, similar things that you have. The thing over here is they sort of have regional focus, area focus is there. They have also incorporated self-help group. Self-help group data will also be taken up, right? Self-help group in fact is functioning quite well with lesser NPA. Why? Here what works is the peer pressure. Peer pressure. In fact, it is working so well that RBI had said that there is no need to regulate it specifically, because something which is not broken, there is no need to modify, mend or anything, because this works on peer pressure is working well, it is doing better in certain areas. Of course, in certain areas it's not that well. We have seen in previous class that in microfinance, when it comes to microfinance, the overall debt in India with respect to microfinance, the NPAs are 2 lakh crore worth of NPAs are there in microfinance also. In that, it is highly concentrated in the state of Bihar, which has more than 50,000 crore rupees of debt. Right, so highly concentrated, but otherwise this microfinance and also especially the self-help group are also doing well in areas. There are different reasons and different level of poverty. Extreme poverty is also high over here, NPAs are also high over here for microfinance. So this is some low-hanging fruit which the government would be addressing in different way. Anyway, yes, so what will it do? Of course, broaden the access to formal credit. This is important. Why it's important? See, link it with the data that the budget gave. Budget 2024, actually the previous one, gave a data that over 66% of the agricultural credit is the institutional credit, which is actually a really good data. But the RBI report, RBI data of 2022-23 had said that about when you talk about the big landlords and big farmers, 90% of their credit is coming from the institutional sources, whereas if you talk about the small and marginal farmers, 80 to 85% of it comes from non-institutional sources. That means from this 66%, majority goes to the big farmers, very less goes to the small farmers over here. That is a concern. This percentage is really high, but this also needs to increase. Now, it is a positive in the sense that you will have credit score of everyone, so you can expand the credit access, but it can go the other way around also, right? Because then if your credit score is not good enough, so bank also has a moral high ground. You asked me to use this tool, his credit score is not good, so I did not pay it. So of course it is a double-edged sword. Since you are talking about the scheme, the government has come out with this. The analysis, positive analysis is yes, it increases the formal access definitely, but there can be the other way around also. Okay? Self-help groups can also have their Grameen credit score. So self-help groups, how the self-help group work right now? 20 people, 30 people coming together, they are contributing certain money, let's say 2,000, 3,000 rupees. 30 people are there, total it's 90,000 rupees. So 2 people can be given 45,000 rupees of cash to start their own stall, a small business or anything like that. That is how it works. It is a pooled in money. Now here, even in the pooled in money, there will be certain people who are returning the money, doing well, higher credit score, their behavior as well. So they will also have a credit score. So these institutions can also get sources of money in a better way from the banks. That can create proper competition, that if my SHG does well, I can have additional source from the bank. So that competitiveness can be created among the SHGs to improve your credit score. Okay. Key features, customized credit cards and all that, micro enterprises, limit up to 5 lakh rupees, score range 300 to 900, easy for former lenders to understand that this is easy for formal lenders to understand. See, this is actually a very low score. 300 is a very low score. I will not get credit at 300 credit score. Okay. So here it is but obvious that the provision or non-provision of the loan will have different ranges. Okay. So when that is also there, we'll have a look at it. Developed by CICs. These are credit agencies that have developed this code, developed by credit agencies. These are the names: TransUnion, Sibyl, Experian and Equifax. These are credit institutions, okay? Credit rating institutions who have developed the score. These are the sources of use of data: Kisan credit card, Swamitva scheme, priority sector loans, tractor loans. Using this, the credit information companies, that's the total full form of this CIC, they have made this. Significance, yes, significance from group base, you can move to individual base also. In that SHG, you are doing well. First, there are two things here. The SHG did well. SHG also can be funded. That is one thing. Within the SHG, you are doing well. The bank can provide you also the loan. Your credit score is present. Within the SHG, 20 people are there. All 20 people's credit score are there. Your credit score also there. So you can yourself get directly loan from the bank. Okay? That is what they're trying to say. Empowers nearly 100 million. This is an estimation of about 100 million SHG members will be empowered. A woman, example, women in village can use her SHG repayment record to get the personal loan independently. The SHG also maintain their documents and stuff. So whatever record you may have over there, you can utilize to get funds from the bank. Why would you want to get funds from the bank when SHG is also there? The fund limit can be more. You can pay it, get more frequently, because in SHG, a lot of other people will also be in line to get the loan, and the funds of the SHG is limited, but the bank can supply with higher amount of fund. Okay? Yes. Okay. Next one is the FCRA. This is with respect to the foreign funding that comes to the NGOs. Okay. Now, when foreign fund comes to the NGOs, it needs to be properly vetted. That is important. So this FCRA deals with exactly that. FCRA Amendment 2026 and regulation of foreign funding. So basically, the Union government has proposed Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill 2026. Okay. Now, this is the government's take that it will bridge the legal gaps in the asset management and streamline the NGO accountability. We'll see what particular thing is being considered as draconian or at least controversial, and we will also see there are certain things which is required also, right? Required also because see, NGOs can be used for a lot of things. NGOs can be used for siphoning off of the fund, for money laundering it can be used for terrorist funding also, terrorism also. So that thing is there, and government generally every time gives that rhetoric, but sometimes it also holds water as well. Okay. Few years back, government has banned huge number of NGOs. It has also identified huge number of shell companies. Shell companies, companies on paper, nothing on physically present, but simply laundering the money. Same thing can be done with NGO. Not just that, NGOs can be specifically funded by foreign entities. What does NGO do? They also act as a pressure group. They act as a pressure group, right? So anyone from foreign can fund the NGO for a specific reason, right? Which can make the projects to be stalled, which can, let's say, slow down the progress or the growth of the country. A lot of things can go on with respect to the NGO, especially when they are funded. Is political funding allowed from foreign countries? Yes, that is allowed. Okay? Anyway, so let's understand what are the key proposed changes. One is the designated authority. Now, right now, they are mentioning this designated authority. This designated authority, what it will do is, see, there is an NGO, it will have some bank account, it will have certain funds in that bank account, right? These NGOs have to timely file for their tax returns, this, that, comply with all the rules and regulations that are there. If they fail to comply to these things, automatically their accounts will be freezed and they can be completely banned as well. Now when that makes sense. You are an NGO, you have to file for it, you have to abide by the rules and regulations. If you're not abiding by it, of course people can understand that there might be something fishy. That is why even, I had opened one company once. Now the bank account and everything was dormant, but still I had to file for returns because it should not be treated as a shell company, for example. And then when we decided we to not proceed further, we actually closed that account. It is very much required. Okay? So all those things you have to follow. If you are not following that, automatically a system will be triggered, and then following a particular timeline, the accounts can be freezed, the NGOs can be stopped from functioning. When that happens, your account may have some money with you, right? So what to do with that money? That decision and what to be done, how to manage will be decided by here. But one thing that will happen is it will first directly go to the Consolidated Fund of India. Okay? So NGO has 10 crore rupees, did not follow the procedure and stuff. Its money, the proceeds from that NGO, right, which it received from the foreign donations, goes to the Consolidated Fund of India. That is the idea, right? So as to curb the use of these NGOs for hindering the progress of India, you would call it, or curbing terrorism funding, etc. Because if you are not doing all this and if your working is actually genuine, then you follow whatever the process that is there. Next is expansion of the definition of functionary. Functionary means who all are the functionaries of the NGO, right? This is a very important term. Why it is important? See, an example would be, you might have heard sometimes the bridge has fallen or some infrastructure has been destroyed, something has happened, so there is investigation. There are two people who are called for in that investigation. One is generally the project head, the other one is the quality head. These are the two people who are taken for questioning. Why not the site head? Because site head will create the thing, keep it ready, and the work will go ahead only when the quality head gives a go ahead. So he, she, or they are the person who signs it, and the ultimate responsibility lies on the project head. So these two people are always taken into questioning. So that's why these are basically key players in that organization. In the same manner, in NGOs also there will be certain functionaries who can be taken into question, who can be held accountable. Many times, you know, I call to a customer care representing Legacy IAS Academy. If they are saying something, I'll say, sir, I am to just an employee. But no, I am a representative of Legacy IAS Academy. So I am questionable. I am accountable for certain things. Maybe an office boy of Legacy IAS Academy is not accountable, but other management is actually accountable. So this functionary definition has been expanded. It will now include directors. Of course, it was there previously, partners, trustees. Then the karta. Karta is basically a Hindi word which means the major manager, the doer of the particular thing, whoever is managing. You understand this as an operations head, for example, right? The operations head. The founders, however, they are involved, but there is an operations head who's managing everything, whether it's working or not. That is the person here. The office bearers, different office bearers. Okay, so these are the people who will be known as the functionary of that particular NGO. Okay. Personal liabilities for offenses unless due diligence is proven. What does this mean? That means all these people, they can be held personally accountable for the offenses that are done unless and until you can prove that, sir, ma'am, I did the due diligence, this is the report of it, and I was actually genuinely unaware. Right? So for example, if some illegal thing is happening over here in one of the two buildings which are under Legacy IAS Academy, right, the founders cannot say I was not aware. They are supposed to be unaware. So the burden of proof will lie on them. They will have to prove that, see, this is what I did due diligence, still I did not know. So if the authority, designated authority is satisfied, fair enough. If not, you have to prove it. Right? Or else it will be your personal liability. It will be the owner's personal liability if something illegal happens over here, unless and until they can prove their due diligence. Okay? Prior approval. This is important. Now this is what is controversial. The law enforcement agencies, it can be state, it can be center. If it is a center, that's not much of a problem. But if it is a state enforcement agency, then you have state government. It's the same. Let's say state government, state enforcement agency, they must get central government approval before the FCRA investigation. That is important. And this is what the controversy is also all about. Because then what will happen is, what is feared is, in the states where, at the center there is a party, right? There are certain states in which the same party rules, certain states where some other party rules. So if there are certain other states, that will not be a problem as such. First of all, their state government is not going to ask for it as such, but other state independent bodies can ask for it. Central government can easily provide the approval. Whereas in the ruling state where the same party is ruling, that can be a difficult if an independent state body wants to do something about it. Anyhow, state government still holds a lot of power, but yes, this is the issue that is happening. This issue has been, I think, raised by the state of Kerala. Maybe I think other states are involved, but this is definitely there who has raised this issue, that every time why this particular thing is required. This is a bit about the FCRA. It's a central legislation regulating the foreign contribution and hospitality, enacted in 2010. came in force in 11. Okay. This amendment, yes, you as such do not need to know. It is administered by Ministry of Home Affairs. Why Ministry of Home Affairs? Why not Finance Ministry? Because it impacts the internal security, internal issues, all those things. Funding is coming from foreign to India. Okay. So whenever that thing happens, generally Ministry of External Affairs also gets involved. Ministry of Home Affairs basically is the governing agency. Around 16,000 associations registered, 22,000 crore rupees is coming annually to the NGOs. Okay. So that is a huge amount of money. Another thing is this: the designated FCRA account, only the SBI branch, only SBI. So designated FCRA account has to be with the SBI. Now issue with that is, this is basically a public sector bank. The same issue happened when the government had brought in the electoral bond. What was the issue? It was SBI who can issue the electoral bond. Everything will be anonymous, but SBI will have the data. And SBI is a government entity, so the government will have the data. So the central government in power will have the data, who is giving funding to whom and how much. When only the central government will have the data, what will happen is people will be apprehensive. This government is power, should I give it to someone else? Because then this government will know, then in the future I will not get the contracts, right? So that is also another concern, that here the account can be with the SBI. Okay? But here it is a bit better because electoral roll funding, that was more important. Here fair enough, if everything is fine, no one can stop you from getting the money which is legally you are bringing in. Anyway, coming to next, the RBI rejects the treasury bill bids to manage the liquidity. So basically there have been auctions, biddings had taken place for the treasury bill. RBI has rejected all the bills for the all the bids for the treasury bill. What is a treasury bill? You're from the same K6 batch, right? Yes, we have done it. What is a treasury bill? Yes, treasury bill. Short term. Yes, we have done the treasury bill, short term, for the liquidity mismatch, liquidity management, for borrowing money. The government also wants to borrow money. Why? Because the revenue does not accrue to it consistently. So it borrows it now, does it work, later on repays when the taxes and everything comes. Okay? Yes. So it did it in order to stop the outflow of 35,000 crore rupees. This is main important thing, adequate cash with the banks, to ensure that there is adequate cash with the banks. Now how you can ensure that? See, if the banks are investing in the treasury bills, so their money will be invested in this, right? They will not have the money to do something else with that. Okay? So that is why this auction was denied. That is one thing. However, through this the money can come to the government, but there are two reasons why you issue this bill. One is you need the money. You need it as a revenue source in order to do the work and later repay. The other is for liquidity management also. Liquidity management. You can manage liquidity also with the help of this. If there is too much liquidity in the market, issue the treasury bill, take out the money. Okay? If less liquidity is there, the treasury bill is yet to mature, you can again sell, give it, basically give the money back and buy back it sooner. So that is known as buying back of treasury bill. This is how you can manage liquidity. So here revenue was not a problem. This was for liquidity management, which has now been rejected. So in order to have more liquidity in the market. Okay, more liquidity in the market. We are hell bent actually on having more liquidity if you look at it. And it is probably making sense because from 6.5% repo rate, we have reduced it to 5.25%. 1.25% of reduction in repo rate. Considerable reduction has happened. Not just that, simultaneously our inflation is also quite low. Right? Inflation is also quite low. Food inflation went into negative. Core inflation is also low. Headline inflation is also low. Right? We have 4 plus minus 2%. So 2 to 6. Our food inflation is in negative. It's less than that. ठीक है, so we are in a very healthy state. That means we can have more money in the hands of the people. It's not going to create much of an issue. Also, we have done GST tax cut. We have basically liberalized the slabs that have been there. So the government is doing all of this. Still, inflation is quite at low, and this is also low. So we are actually giving more money in the hands of the people, and we can afford to because of this reason actually. ठीक है. Let's see what happens. This war is playing out. Maybe the prices increases. Now you might have seen that in certain places there is a surcharge of gas which is being applied. ठीक है? And in certain places the commercial gas cylinders are not there. This is, it's not because we don't have gas as such. This is a management strategy. Okay, you hold on to the commercial so that the household does not face the problem, right? But the issue is people also panic, and people are taking more connections, buying more, taking more, all these things are happening. So if one of your cylinder got over just today, you still had another one, still you are immediately applying for the next. So the demand also increased because of this delay and the war that is going on. What it does is it suddenly increases the demand, and then actually there would be a shortage, right? Same thing happened in petrol. Now there was no as such shortage of petrol, but it so happened is our Prime Minister has given a speech wherein to, asking us to be prepared and all that. It was just that. So then what happened is people took it as something is going to happen. Only two things can happen, LPG and petroleum. So in many cities, I was in Nagpur at that time. In Nagpur also it so happened is people are queuing onto the petrol pumps to fill the entire tank. Now you might fill 1 liter, 2 liter, half liter, sometimes 50 rupees. Now everyone is filling the entire tank. Right, because of what happens is you are taking 1 week's petrol in one single day. So now actually the shortage gets created. Okay? But what had actually happened is these PSUs who are giving the petroleum to these petrol pumps and stuff, they had changed their policy. Previously, you can get the petrol, you can sell it off, then pay off the PSUs. So PSUs stopped this method on Saturday night. They said you have to pay in advance, then get the petrol. Because of the uncertainty of war that is happening, we are also finding it difficult. So because a lot of people, it happened on Saturday, the banks are also closed, so the transaction also needs to be done. All that thing did not happen. So various transportation and also will also stop. So the supply would be limited. Plus this all thing also happened. People panic, people buy, and actually some of the petrol pumps were closed. But it was not that we don't have petrol, it was just a shock that was there. So let's see if this goes up, maybe we see a different stance. But right now we are trying to infuse more liquidity. Our percentage target with respect to economic survey and budget said that 6.8 to 7.2% of growth. With this war, let's see what happens. It may go down. So ensuring more liquidity, spurring more of domestic demand is going to help ensure that we achieve maybe this number. Okay. See, features of the treasury bill, 91, 182, 364. You also had the 14-day treasury bill, but after that the cash management bill had come in. So this cash management bill is for less than 91 days. Less than 91 days. So because this is present, this is now hardly used. Okay. Only the government of India can issue the treasury bill. You should know that it was a question previously. Issued by central government via the RBI. And remember, we have in our classes also talked about that RBI acts as the bank of the government, and RBI issues the securities on behalf of the government. Even RBI actually uses certain agent banks in order to do that. So this you should remember. So if you get a question with respect to what are agent banks, RBI will select certain agent banks who will on behalf of RBI, who on behalf of the government is buying and selling those securities. Minimum investment in this is 10,000 and multiple thereof. Okay. Used by banks to meet the statutory liquidity ratio also, of course. To meet the SLR, you have cash, you have monetary gold, you have the approved security. The T-bills are part of approved security. Does approved security have only government? No. From time to time, whatever the approved security is identified by the RBI, you can have it in those security. Okay. The last one, government launches 3 initiatives for orange economy. Okay. So what are these 3 initiatives? These are here. It is launched under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, that is IB. First one is National AI Skilling Initiative. National AI Skilling Initiative. This is an initiative in collaboration with the government plus YouTube plus Google. So Google and YouTube private players, government is a public player, so public-private partnership is utilized. It will start again. Public-private partnership is utilized under the first one, that is National AI Skilling Initiative. Yes. PPP in National AI Skilling Initiative. Next one is My Waves. Right, this My Waves is somewhat like an OTP platform. We'll see that in detail. And then the last one, Advanced EPG. So let's see them one by one. This is the first one, National AI Skilling Initiative. It's as a PPP project, government plus Google plus YouTube. This is important here. As I mentioned, target of 15,000 professionals in AVGC sector. Okay? Next is the My Waves platform. So this is a My Waves platform. Okay. So this My Waves, based on this My Waves platform, there is also, the government has started a Create in India challenge. What is this Create in India challenge? It's a challenge of creating content and putting it on this particular platform. This challenge is temporary. This challenge is going to publicize this particular platform wherein you can create the content, put it on this platform. This platform is basically the learning platform for the people which is present, known as My Wave platform. It basically converts users from viewers to creators. On that platform, you can go and watch content created by others, but you have a challenge, so you can create your own content and upload that as well. So you will not remain a mere viewer of it, you can also become a creator out of it. So that is what the government wants us to be, convert the viewers into creators. How do you do that? Come up with a challenge. This challenge is not new. This challenge is an year-old challenge. Now they are reviving this challenge to publicize this particular platform. So don't mess up the timeline. This challenge, I think it's a year and a half old, 2025 also it was there, and now a similar challenge that they are bringing to popularize this My Waves platform. It will include competitions for anime, AI filmmaking, comics hackathon, etc. Okay? Anime basically the animation, cartoon, movies, etc. that comes. AI filmmaking. Now people are making small shorts out of AI, small videos out of AI. So make films out of AI, short films out of AI. Okay? You know, this Google's Pixel was very famous for making short films. On YouTube, they have a channel, Google Pixels, and used to get a lot of Pixel awards, cartoon pictures, 4 or 5 minutes, but messages. So that is the kind of, make it with AI, right? You don't have to manually edit or anything. Give a prompt, the AI will make everything for you. Okay. Next is the Advanced EPBG initiative, that is Electronic Program Guide with Satellite Tuners in TVs. Okay, so what is this? Basically, it's like the dish TV. So you have this set-top box, this remote, and this is the dish through which you get it. It will enable DD free dish access without the set-top box. Set-top box is also a cost. You will not be required to buy that set-top box directly, you will receive it. Right now you may have Tata, Sky, Airtel, Dish TV, all that stuff. So to get access to the DD free dish, you need not have a set-top box. It will directly through satellite come to you. It reduces the cost, makes it more accessible to the people. That is the idea. These kind of news are very important for prelims exam. 2016 they launched Swayam portal. They asked what is the Swayam portal. Then 2017-18 also direct questions of the new initiatives of learning, the open source of learning. The government launches such open source of learning things. It also asks, in UPSC when the question asks, it itself becomes again popular as well. Right, so be ready with these kind of 3 initiatives that the government has taken. There will be more facts, I'm sure, in the notes. Okay? So orange economy, also called as creative economy, based on creativity, IP culture, capital, video, graphics, gaming, all that are part of the orange economy. ठीक है. How films and all are involved, because in films also you will have VFX, graphics and all those animations that are used. So film as such not completely, but the films that is using VFX and all the payment etc. that is going, that's a part of the orange GDP basically. ठीक है. Economic significance globally, this is ठीक है, it will create 30 million jobs. These are estimations. I believe there is 30 million indirect jobs. Okay? So this is, I think, maybe they have not mentioned it. So when they don't mention it, it would be direct jobs, or else they mention indirect jobs. Direct, see, what is the difference? Let's say I am saying that in Bengaluru in the next 1 year, IT sector is going to create 10 lakh direct jobs. That means 10 lakh direct IT employees will be there. It will create 1 crore indirect jobs. That means what? These 10 lakh IT people will come, will stay, will buy things, create demand. So there needs to be someone to supply for that demand. So that will create another extra 90 lakh indirect jobs. That is the concept of indirect jobs. Okay? Yeah, so that's about it. But with respect to this specifically, in this budget, see, what have they mentioned? AVGC labs in 15,000 schools, 500 colleges, target is 2 million. So you should know these major targets. In UPSC, they will simply say 2 lakh instead of 2 million, or they might say 20 million. So they themselves give you a huge margin. So at least you should know it is in 2 million. That is, I think, more than enough. 2 million professionals by 2030. This is the target. In a scheme, you should remember the target at least. Okay? More on that, read it from your reader also. Okay guys, yes, any questions? There are some questions. Now what happens is, when we read this and do the question, it actually feels really easy. Okay? But it will help you in your prelims. Let's see. With reference to the electricity amendment rules, consider the following statements. Ownership of captive generating plants now includes subsidiaries and holding companies also. Yes. Previously only whatever your parent company is there, that's it. But now subsidiaries, holding companies, subsidiary of the holding company also are included. Captive status verification will be conducted once every 5 years. This is actually correct. It's there in your reader. Okay? Just read it from your reader. National Load Dispatch Center will handle interstate verification. Yes. This, see, first is correct, third is correct. This, I think, will be not the case. Captive status verification will be conducted once every 5 years. I think this is incorrect. I think this is incorrect, guys. This is incorrect. Okay. So here correct answer will be 1 and 3, but just check it. But as per my knowledge, this second one is incorrect. Okay. And why this guess? Because whenever the government basically tries to facilitate certain things, these kind of restrictions generally will not be there. Okay. So this is incorrect. But ek baar check kariye aap, please. Which of the following best describes the key features of the Grameen credit score? Replaces all traditional credit score. This all traditional credit score replacing. This is not correct. Relies exclusively on digital payment. Exclusively on digital. In fact, not. Behavior is important. Incorporate social and behavioral data for credit assessment. But let's read other also. It is applicable only to urban. This is incorrect. So C is the correct answer here. Which of the following is a feature of the proposed Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill? Complete removal of prior registration requirement for NGO? No, it's not that. If you just remember why it is for, it is there to regulate them better. So even if you remember that, any option which is against that flow, you can anyhow mark it incorrect. Transfer of the foreign funded assets directly to the state governments? No, it is anyhow going to go to the Consolidated Fund of India. Mandatory prior approval of the central government before FCRA investigation. Okay. Increases in maximum imprisonment offenses? No, that is not. In fact, some of the offenses they have diluted because they are increasing the regulation over here. Okay. Next, with reference to treasury bills in India, which of the following are correct? They are issued at a discount and redeemed at the face value. Yes. What does this mean? See, generally what happens, you take a 100 rupee loan and you have to give 10% interest. So you return 110. Right. So I am giving you 100 rupee loan and then you return 110, 10% extra. So what they do is, this treasury bill or even certain bonds, if the rate of, whatever the rate of return, let's say their face value is 100. So what they will do is, they will issue to you at 90 rupees and at the time of redeeming, it will be redeemed at face value. Face value. So the face value of the bill will be 100. You get it cheap and then you get it back. So first is correct. They have a maturity exceeding 1 year. No, it is for short term. So when 2 is incorrect, of course, 1 only will be the answer. State government also issues. No, it is not. I think few years back, the question statement, this question statement was there in UPSC. The term orange economy, we have seen economy which is based on creativity, intellectual property, cultural industries, so on and so forth. Okay? These terms are important. So whenever orange economy, any kind of economy, any minister also says it, becomes important. See, this time what was asked? Cyclic economy or something was asked. Circular economy question was asked. One minister talked about circular economy, they asked it. Okay, a minister keeps on talking about a lot of things, but I am saying if you come across in news someone saying some word which you don't know, pay attention to it. In 2015, someone mentioned about what was that? Some ratio. It wasn't debt to GDP ratio. It was not that. It was some ratio only. Tax to GDP ratio. He mentioned in 2015 news. He mentioned that our tax to GDP ratio should increase to 20%. And in 2015, there is a question on tax to GDP ratio. Our tax to GDP ratio is still hovering at 11 to 12% only, by the way. We are nowhere close to that. Okay. So this basically showcases huge amount of tax evasions will also be there. Tax avoidance, tax evasion, so on and so forth. Okay.
What is ARGC sector?
ARGC. Where did we come across that? ARGC. What's the full form? AVGC. AVGC, the video, graphics, comics, all that. It's a short form of that. AVGC. Okay? Chali. Thank you guys.